Hello everyone, Writing Elephant here, and today I am doing my first book review, and it's on one of my newest favorite books, As Old as Time by Liz Bradwell, and this is a fractured fairy tale based on Disney's Beauty and the Beast. It was released by Disney Press, and I am excited to delve in. So first off, this is a mutated version of Beauty and the Beast. By that I mean it starts off pretty much exactly like Disney's Beauty and the Beast, if not word for word. Very word for word, which is a little bit of agitation, but because I'm such a huge Disney Beauty and the Beast fan, did not bother me in the slightest when reading it. Didn't take me out of the book. It does follow the movie very, very closely, like I said. So, like, the opening, after the first initial chapter, is Belle going through the village, Belle meeting the bookseller, Belle being ambushed by Gaston, pretty much the stuff we already know about Belle and about Beauty and the Beast. But what's interesting about Braswell's book is you hop between Belle's past, I'll call it Belle's past, and Belle's present. So you meet both her parents, you meet Rosalind, you meet Maurice. And in the original Disney, we don't know who Belle's mom is. We don't know where the hell she came from, essentially. We just know that she's got a dad, Maurice, who's an inventor, and that's it. In this, we see who Maurice is, we get to see who her mother is, and the world around how Belle came about, which is actually very, very interesting. About Belle's mom, her mom is a very, very strong character, and her name is Rosalind, and she is the Enchantress, which, if you can't tell from the back and the front, is kind of a spoiler in itself. But what happens is she's very strong, she's very driven, she is the advocate for what the book calls Les Charmantes, or I believe I'm pronouncing that right, it is French, and I have a Spanish roll to it because I'm Italian, but I believe it's Charmant, or Charmanti, and she's a very big advocate for that, because she's the Enchantress. She is the largest known Charmanti in, I'm just going to call her Enchantress, and the community of, like, magical beings, because she's so, I just love her to pieces, so I don't really know how to describe her, other than she's a strong female character lead who's a huge advocate for her own kind, and that is her downfall. Alongside Rosalind, we see Maurice, who is more than just a bumbling scientist, like, frightened by the beast. We do see him get captured. It is exactly like it is in the movie, so that's not really a spoiler. That's just kind of how it is. But we do see another side of Maurice, which is a lot stronger, a lot more, I wouldn't say brave, because he still kind of keeps to himself for the most part, but he's got a little bit more balls than he does in the movie. So he befriends this gentleman named Ulrich, he befriends this guy named Frederick in the town where he meets Rosalind, and he marries Rosalind. And those two characters are very important, and I don't want to spoil too much. I will have a little bit of a spoiler afterward, because I have all the feels for this book. But those are three very important characters, is Ulrich, Frederick, and Rosalind, alongside Belle and the Beast. But the thing is it doesn't really focus on Belle and the Beast. You'd think it would, but it doesn't. And I have to say, Belle, she's, like, kind of spunky, but kind of demure. She's strong like her mother, but not as strong. She's very kind of like, closed off, very, I'm going to keep to myself. But she does defy the beast in a different way than she does in the movie. The scene where he says, well, go ahead and starve, it doesn't just cut there. She goes, well, I plan to anyway. And then she's like, oh, crap, I am actually hungry. And that scene is much different than it is in the movie, and I loved that Liz expanded on that and gave Mrs. Potts, Cogsworth, and Lumiere more life than the movie actually did. One thing I did notice about when she was describing the objects was that she didn't give them the classic features of Mrs. Potts, Cogsworth, and Lumiere. Like, I have Christmas ornaments because I am that much of a Beauty and the Beast fan. So this is my Cogsworth ornament. And as you can see, he's very, very animated. He's very kind of happy-go-lucky. If you've seen the trailer for the new Beauty and the Beast movie, it's more like that, where they don't have heavily defined features like this. There's no, oh, well, his eyes are blue, or he moves around. It's more like, oh, well, his face kind of moves on its own, and he's got what he uses for hands to move around. But there's not a lot of facial expression from them. It's more like I get enough facial expression to know that they're upset and to know that they're happy. But it's not facial expression, it's more like their mannerisms and how they move. I love that aspect because that you actually see them as objects and you don't see them as people, which normally when you write a book you want to do the opposite. Here she did the reverse, and I loved that she did that, and that was a very good way to keep them object-like and not people-like, which is what they're supposed to be. Another thing that I loved that Liz did was she focused on the magical folks' plight and the illness that was ravaging France and Europe during the time that Beauty and the Beast was written. The way that the magical folk were attacked was very similar to the witch trials of London and the New World. Started to creep up on the last magical place that the magical folk had, the Charmantes had. So the writing in this book is very quick, it's very witty, it's what you would expect from a young adult novel. It's very, like, you can go from chapter to chapter to chapter and you didn't realize you just read 300 pages. I finished this in about 4 to 5 days because of work and, adulting. But somebody who sat down and had like a day or two just to dedicate, you could bang it out in probably a full day. Maybe 12 to 16 hours, I would say you could probably do it. Because it is a over 400 length book. But it's so quick in the way it's written, and Braswell's, I have to say, the way Braswell writes is very witty, very funny, she does mention Rhode Island in it, and it is very Rhode Island. It's very the way you speak, and I enjoyed that. She does mention Providence, Rhode Island in it, in one instance, and if you've read the book, you probably didn't even see it, you probably just saw the word Providence and thought somewhere just else in the New World, but it is from Rhode Island because she did go to Brown University here, and that makes me geek out a little. Now we're going to get to a little bit of the spoiler section, but before I do that, I absolutely adored this book. I will have a link in the description below for my blog post on this, and I'm going to geek out a little bit here, but I did an Instagram post with my blog post for this, and Liz Braswell commented, and it's awesome. But again, like I said, I'll have the blog link below. It's not really spoilery, I don't think anyway. If you do think it's spoilery, let me know in the comments below. But now we're going to get to the spoilery section. So, spoilers. The Beast never tells you his name at all. He does mention that he had a name beforehand, and this irritated the hell out of me because I really wanted him to be called something other than Beast. She refers to him even after the ending as Beast, and I'm like, can we just give him a name? Can we make him human? Because the more you keep calling him Beast, the more dehumanized he is. And it aggravated the hell out of me. That and the way Gaston was written. Now, Gaston followed the typical ambush wedding, trying to kill the Beast, whole 9 yards that Disney had portrayed. But he's also kind of meek and pansy-ish. Now, I say that because he just seems like I don't know, he's not the typical ass you would find, but he's more like he's meek-milled. Hold on, cat. So, Gaston, much like my cat Sebastian, is a very, very jockey jerk, but he's also kind of meek and runs away with his tail between his legs. So, yeah. Runs like you. Yeah. Runs away. And that just irked me. Like, Gaston is supposed to be this hunter and this, like, big macho guy, and we don't see that really in the book. I did enjoy the way he was written. It was just kind of thrown. Yet nobody threw Gaston a bone. He was just kind of boring. Another thing that intrigued but agitated me was the insane asylum guy. Now, this is a huge spoiler, so if you don't want it spoiled, stop here. Frederick is the insane asylum guy. Now, if you don't know, in the beginning of the book, Frederick is Maurice's friend, but he is also one of the magical folk, and he hates that about himself. It's a very Voldemort-y situation, where he is part of that culture, but he doesn't like it, and he tries to rid himself of it. Again, much like Voldemort. So he ends up becoming the insane asylum guy at the request of the king and the queen, where he can gather up Charmanti and gather up the insane, and then he does experiments on them, and it's not nice. And he ends up getting creepier and creepier and creepier to the point where the town does revolt on him. Unlike in the movie where the townsfolk, you never see them interact with the insane asylum guy other than Gaston and LeFou. And it aggravates me how much Frederick D'Arc, however you want to call him, was involved in the entire base of this plot. And you don't find that out until the end, and I just wanted to strangle him. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it for the spoilers. I do have to say, though, one more thing. I did love the book. I absolutely adored it. I'm probably going to read it again because I am a huge Beauty and the Beast buff, but I just wanted more. Because the way it ended, I needed more. I wanted more. And Liz Braswell, if you are watching this, please, just a tiny sequel, a tiny novella, something, because I don't like the way it ended. It was too open-ended. I just wanted to see Beast and Belle do the whole 9 yards, get married, rebuild the kingdom. I wanted to see that happen. I know we can see that happen, but I want to see it happen so bad. So just a tiny bit. I just need a tiny. Well, that wraps up my review of As Old as Time, A Twisted Tale by Liz Braswell. I hope you enjoyed. I hope if you stayed through all the spoilers. If you had the feels as much as I did about this book, please leave them in the comments below. I want to read them all, I want to see them all, and I want to geek out with you too. And please, as always, like, subscribe, and let me know what you think. Bye!